Hey guys, it's Kevin again. That's ready for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 2, Episode 13, One of Us. And this episode was amazing, I have to say. This was an amazing episode. And there were so many things I really love that this episode is doing. It's really setting up for definitely a badass second half of the season. Now, I want to say this was the best episode of the season, but it's not because the season finale was still stronger. And I think for a while that's just how it's going to be, which is fine because this episode was, not bad or anything. It's that the season finale is still the strongest episode of the season, which is understandable. I mean, it kicked all kinds of ass, and it was just an awesome finale. I can understand why it's still the best episode of the season. So I definitely love this episode, but I still love this episode, and let's just get into it because it was amazing. So we start at Coney Island, and there's this woman sitting in her apartment eating dinner, and despite the fact her fingers are in metal caps, there's a knock at the door, and the woman's name is Carla Faye Gideon, and they look out the peephole, and Cal is there with two men and says he got her names from the gifted index, and Carla opens the door and wonders who he is. Now Cal introduces the two men, Wendell Levi, whose S.H.I.E.L.D. implanted a chip in to negate his powers to cross tech, and Levi then led Cal to the other man, Francis Noche, who was on meds to keep him docile. Um, so, docile. So, Cal says that he knows what S.H.I.E.L.D. Has done to her and offers to free her. And Carla slams the door. Now, when he said that, I'm like, okay, I don't exactly know what he means. I thought that was kind of interesting when he said, I want to help free you and everything, and she slams the door in his face. She doesn't believe a second of it. She doesn't want to listen to him, and he then reconsiders. She then reconsiders, and she reopens the door, and it's time for everyone to learn how S.H.I.E.L.D. treats people like them. And he wants Carla to join them. He assures Carla that S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't so powerful anymore, considering the fact that, I don't know, it's gone. And together they can be a force to be reckoned with, and Carla takes a bite of food and says that she's in. Now, when he said that, I'm like, okay, so what I said is basically going to happen. As I told you guys before, I thought that Cal and that guy with no eyes was going to form their own team, was going to form their own new team, and, Cal and Gordon, they were going to form their own new team along with Daisy. They don't recruit Daisy in this episode. I definitely feel like soon they're setting that up that they're going to try to get Daisy. So at the base, Sky's in the containment cell eating with Coulson. He admits that they're putting her, not Sky, Daisy, it sits in the containment of eating with Coulson. He admits that they're putting her on the gifted index. And Daisy says that she's been monitoring herself and is getting control of her seismic powers. And because if you remember last week, it got really bad. She had no idea what was really happening to her. And I like seeing that she now is starting to be aware of what's actually going on. So Daisy figures that she'll soon be back in the field. She thinks that everything will be okay with her and that she'll be back there and, things should be fine. So later, Coulson meets with Melinda, who warns that she needs a full psych evil and threat assessment. And he says that he knows just the person, someone who they can trust. And Melinda warns that Andrew might say no. So Coulson tells her to reach out and see what he says, and as Melinda leaves, Jemma and Bobbi watch from the lab. Jemma's completing Daisy's index file, and it says that she hasn't found out much, and Fitz comes in and gets a case and then walks out, because of course they're still trying to find out more about Daisy. They know stuff, but they don't know everything. So Gemma's ignoring him, probably because of, that big lie, that big thing he did not say to her last week. She's still upset with him about that. And once he leaves, Bobbi asks how long she's going to give her from the silent treatment. And the scientist says that Fitz altered data, and she has to accept that their relationship will never be what it is after he betrayed her trust, which is true. And I kind of like this. I mean, Fitz didn't really want to be near Jemma. He didn't really want to be by her, so he's essentially getting what he wanted, but I definitely feel like Fitz is at some point going to want to talk to Jemma, and now Gemma's not going to want to talk to him. So I really do enjoy this. I think Fitz definitely deserves it, and I like that their relationship is kind of strained now. I think it's actually really well done. I really like it, I have to say. So Bobbi gets a call, takes it in the hallway, and it's Mack, who says that he's taken Lance to a safe house, and Lance hears them talking, and yells at Bobbi that he wishes she was rotting in hell, and Bobbi says that they'll bring Lance in and tells Mack to give Lance a beer until she gets there. So, at Oliver University in West Virginia, Professor Andrew Garner is talking with a student when he sees Melinda waiting for him, and he goes over and Melinda says that S.H.I.E.L.D. needs his help, and they go to his office, and Melinda notices that Andrew has an empty photo frame on his desk, and that's kind of interesting. He has this, empty photo frame there. And Andrew says that he moved on from S.H.I.E.L.D, and Melinda says that it's different now that Coulson is director. I like that she told him that, because, yeah, it is very different now. And she tells him, look, it's very different now, and you will enjoy it more. There are better advantages now. There are more people that are joining. It's very different than what he thought it was. And Andrew points out that she didn't get back to him when he called her after S.H.I.E.L.D collapsed, and Melinda says that she didn't get back to him when he called after S.H.I.E.L D collapsed, and she said it was a busy time, basically because it was a busy time, and Andrew warns that he won't tolerate any monitoring or observation while he's with Daisy. And he'll give a copy of the report to Daisy because it is his duty to do that, and Melinda immediately agrees and offers her hand, and Andrew shakes, and then she apologizes for not calling him, and Andrew says that he talked to her mother. Melinda admits that her mother hasn't forgiven her for divorcing Andrew, and I thought that was really interesting. So at Muskingum County, Ohio, Cal drives up to a gate in an RV. He tells the security guard that he's lost, and Carla steps out and slits his throat, and Levi hacks the security system while Cal waves to the security camera. And once Levi shorts out the security system, Cal has Francis rip open the gate with his bare hands, opening the way to the Bryn Mawr Maximum Security Psychiatric Institute. So, at Muskingum County, Ohio, basically, I thought that was really interesting. So, Melinda and Andrew arrive at the base, and Coulson greets them, and as they talk, Coulson gets a call and steps aside to take it, and he then summons Bobbi to his office and says that there's been a break-in Bryn Mawr, and S.H.I.E.L.D maintains a secret wing with mentally unstable people on the index, and as Bobbi goes to prep the Quinjet, Coulson asks if Lance disappeared after he offered him a permanent job, and Bobbi says that that permanent isn't Lance's thing, and leaves, because if you remember, Bobbi didn't really know what she wanted to do to Lance, and of course there is that love triangle going on between Bobbi, Lance, and Mack. We know that Lance is hiding something, okay? I do want to say that. I want to stress that. We know that he's hiding something, we just don't know what it is yet. So Jemma meets with Andrew and assures him that Sky's visits are standard, and Fitz tells Melinda that Andrew seems nice, but she doesn't respond. So meanwhile, Andrew wants to meet Sky, and Daisy, who he thinks is Sky, of course, and Melinda offers to take him to her. However, she talks to Daisy first and says that they need to have her undergo a psychiatric evaluation. So Daisy's obviously less than thrilled. She really doesn't want to have it, and Melinda assures her that Andrew is good, and once Daisy learns Melinda was married to Andrew, she agrees to the eval and prepares him with questions. I have to say, I really like this episode focused on Melinda because we had so much focus on Daisy lately that I kind of like that we kind of switched perspectives here. I definitely enjoyed that. So he figures that she's deflecting and asks why she shot herself, and Daisy says that she did what she had to do to protect her team, which she did. That's why she did that, and Andrew figures that she's afraid she's going to lose her place on the team, and then says that he and Melinda eloped. And after, hang on one second, guys. I'm going to fix this lighting because I don't like it. Alright, that's better. Okay. So he then says that he and Melinda eloped, and after a moment, Daisy says that she shot herself because she couldn't stop what she was doing, and it was terrifying. So just hearing all that, I thought was really interesting to hear. And Coulson and Bobbi then go to Bryn Mawr and confirm that Cal's group tore through the facility, releasing prisoners, and Bobbi brings up the video, and Coulson realizes that Cal led the attack. Now, if you remember, Cal and Coulson are completely against each other, and Coulson completely dislikes Cal. Especially Cal is pissed at Coulson for a couple things. Of course, he's not giving him he's not giving him Daisy. He killed what was his name? I can't remember his name now, but the guy that that killed his family, he killed him. I can't remember his name now, but they really have a lot against they have a lot of beef against each other. So they go in and Coulson explains that there were two prisoners housed there, and one was John Bruno, a military assassin who became obsessed with killing. And before he can describe the second prisoner, Bruno charges out and grabs Bruno charges out and grabs him, and she quickly subdues him and handcuffs him. So Coulson then explains that the second prisoner was David A. Anger, who, after exposure to energy to shrink tumors, he gained the power to trigger the central nervous system, including catatonia. So you can clearly see that all these people, they just seem like really dangerous people, and it's really interesting that they're forming this team now. So in their RV, Anger makes himself uncomfortable, and Coulson and Bobbi get to Anger's cell and find the words "Fight On" written on the wall. Because, now they need to find David A. Anger. So, as Cal drives the RV, he tells Carla that S.H.I.E.L.D. will come to them. They then pull into the town of Mantowick, Wisconsin, and Andrew talks to Melinda in the kitchen, and she pours out two drinks. He asks if she's seeing anyone, and then realizes it's a silly question, because why should he really care? And Melinda merely says that when she multitasks, people get hurt. She asks about the empty photo frame, but Andrew jokingly refuses to answer the question, and Fitz comes in and sees them together and then goes to the lab to use the microwave. He tells Jemma that he didn't want to disturb Melinda and Andrew, and they were having a personal conversation, and the two of them start chatting, but then the alarm on S.H.I.E.L.D. goes off, and everyone runs to the plane as the base shakes, and they discover that Daisy is having a nightmare, which a very vivid nightmare, definitely a very vivid nightmare, because the whole room is shaking. So they wake her up and the vibration stops. So apparently when she has dreams now, the whole room shakes, which I find very interesting. And we don't know what her nightmare is, but I just find that really interesting that now she can make like the whole room shake. I mean, again, it's part of her being an Inhuman. That's one of her big powers, that she can now make the entire room shake. And at the Quinnijet, Coulson and Bobbi scan traffic cams to locate Cal's group. Levi has a genius IQ. Francis was a mob enforcer who got his hands on experimental steroids. Carla worked in a medical lab and grafted razors to her fingers to protect herself against an abusive boyfriend. And they tried to decipher Cal's message. So you can see that each of them were pretty, amazing people. They really were really powerful. Because, Levi's really smart. Francis was in a mob. And Carla cut off her own fingers to do this, and they're just so powerful, and I love seeing that. I definitely love seeing this group. And the thing I also love is that you understand why Cal is doing this. Cal, to me, is not a bad guy. He is simply getting revenge on S.H.I.E.L.D. because they did something terrible to him, so he's doing something back to them in return. And I'd say I really do like that. I like where they're heading with this. I like that they want us to I'm sort of rooting for Cal. I have to say, Cal, I don't want to root for him, but I really do understand his point of view. I understand why he's doing this. I understand why he is so against S.H.I.E.L.D. I totally understand that, and I like that we can understand that, because we should be able to. And I definitely think that's really well done. They're really handling that very well. So I really like where they are going with that. So then we see at a diner, Cal and the others eat, and Carla suggests that they forget S.H.I.E.L.D. and move on, and Cal refuses to sink away and let S.H.I.E.L.D. take from them. He explains they took his daughter and it tears him apart there. Again, you sympathize with him, and says that he tried to improve herself with, that he tried to improve himself with chemistry to protect the ones he loved, and he stopped, things just stopped happening to him. He lost his daughter, he lost his family, he lost pretty much everything, and it's all because of S.H.I.E.L.D. in his opinion. So, Whitehall, that's what it was about, Whitehall. Remember, Coulson killed Whitehall, and Cal says that beef against him. And Cal says they can't let S.H.I.E.L.D. make them afraid of the world, or the world afraid of them. So, I really like them rebelling against S.H.I.E.L.D. I think it's a really awesome to see, and I definitely really enjoy it. So Coulson tells Bobbi that he knows she and Lance were sleeping together, and she tried to duck the question, but Coulson insists, and Bobbi claims that she broke it off with Lance when reverted to his old patterns. And Mack went to find him, and Coulson gets an idea. Just as Bobbi gets a hit in Wisconsin, he calls Melinda and says that he was born in Wisconsin, and Cal's trying to lure him to his home, and he calls Melinda and says he needs backup. So at a high school in Montowick, the students exercise around a banner for the Montowick Outlaws, and their motto says, "Fight on." So Daisy tells Andrew how Melinda taught her to focus. He warns that she's just repressing and asks what she was dreaming about. But Skye claims that she doesn't know, and she continues avoiding, and Andrew calls her on it. And I find that really interesting that Daisy doesn't really know what she's dreaming about. And he warns her that she's different now, and So, does Andrew know that she's inhuman? Clearly, he knows that she's inhuman, and I find that really interesting. My other thing is, could Andrew possibly be inhuman? Because, I mean, how does he know? Daisy didn't, I mean, Melinda didn't tell him all the inhuman stuff because she doesn't know about it. So, basically, Daisy either has to face the pain she's facing or she can sleep again. And after a moment, Daisy says that she dreamed she was on a mission and someone was training a rifle on her, and the plane starts to shake. And Andrew tells her to calm down. So basically, whenever she has this anger problems, the plane is going to start to shake. And Daisy says that she isn't doing it, and Andrew realizes that they're taking off. He goes to the cockpit, and Melinda explains that Coulson needs backup, and she didn't want to interrupt Andrew's session. So Levi then cuts Anger's muscle off, and Carla steps forward to remove it. When Anger prepares to speak, Cal tells him to make it count, and Anger then goes outside to the football field while his teammates in the announcer booth put his earphones on, and the player stares as Anger roars, and everyone passes out, and Anger smiles in satisfaction as birds fall out of the sky onto the field. So Mac brings Lance a beer and pizza and assures him that if they wanted Lance dead, then he'd be dead. And he reminds Lance of how they first met. But Lance figures that he's trying to build sympathy, and he demands to know what Mac and Bobbi are into. And Mac tells him that he'll know soon enough, and Mac goes, and Lance tells him that what he remembers of their first meeting is that Mac lied to him to maintain his cover as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. That's all he remembers. So clearly Mac is hiding something from him. Um, I don't know what he's hiding, but I find that to be very interesting that he's maintaining his cover and he's not really a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. So what is Mac really? Mac clearly is not a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Who he could be, an Inhuman, possibly. I mean, we have so many Inhumans coming to the show. I wouldn't be surprised if we find out that Mac is an Inhuman. I really would not be surprised if that ends up happening. Just because of all the people we're finding out are Inhumans and how many Inhumans we have on the show now. I really would not be surprised if they just pull one on us and say, oh, he's an Inhuman. I would understand that totally. So, once Melinda puts the bus on autopilot, she tells Andrew that Cal is leading Coulson into a trap, and Melinda insists that they'll keep Skye on the bus, but Daisy comes out and says that she's going with them. Andrew agrees with Melinda, warning Daisy it's an emotional power keg, but Daisy points out that she's focusing just like Melinda trained her to do. And she agrees to ice herself if she loses control and says that they should let Cal know what she can do. And Bobbi and Coulson go to the football field, and Coulson explains that his father taught there and died. And when Coulson was 9, they find the unconscious birds and realize that Anger is responsible. And Cal comes on the loudspeakers announcing the big game, and Coulson figures that he's making a very public statement. And this is an awesome scene right here. And Coulson tells Bobbi that they're outnumbered and will wait for Melinda. And while Cal threatens to kill the kids if Coulson doesn't come out, Coulson steps onto the football field, and Levi turns on the lights to reveal Francis, Anger, and Carla nearby. So Anger takes Coulson's gun. Cal comes out to say that they want S.H.I.E.L.D's barbaric crimes exposed against the Indexed, and Melinda arrives holding a gun to Skye's head and says that she's on the Index and they'll either contain her or put her down. She tells Cal to let the hostages go or Daisy dies, and there really is no other choice there. So Cal assures Skye that he can help her, and he says that S.H.I.E.L.D. brainwashed her and figures that Melinda won't kill Skye. So he hands the microphone to Anger and tells him to make the whole town listen. Because he doesn't think that Melinda would go so far as to kill his own daughter. I mean, she just doesn't think that he'd do that. And, that she would do that, because they need her. They need Daisy. But because of what she's been doing, I honestly think, yeah, they probably would have killed her. Just because of how crazy Daisy is becoming. I could totally understand that. So, as Anger prepares to roar, Gordon teleports in, grabs Cal and teleports away. Carla yells at her teammates to end it. Coulson knocks out Anger before he can react, and Andrew runs out to get Daisy to safety. Melinda then goes after Francis, who beats her down. Carla comes down off the bleachers. Bobbi throws her to the ground. When Carla swings at her, Bobbi parries off the blow, and Carla runs off into the locker room, and Bobbi goes after her, and Carla ambushes her. And after a brief struggle, Bobbi manages to use a towel to untangle her hands. So Melinda finally manages to knock Francis unconscious, and inside, Bobbi slams the table, knocking it into Carla's jaw, knocking her out, and Coulson tackles Levi, grabs his bag, and then knocks him unconscious with it, and that was just a really big scene there. And while all these people are defeated now, they're definitely not going to stop. This team is going to continue. I know they're going to continue, and I love that because now that Hydra isn't really the biggest threat anymore, now we have these people, and it's awesome to see. So Skye hesitates and the field starts to shake. She tries to calm herself and the rumbling stops, and Coulson runs to her as she collapses, her arms covered in bruises, and Daisy wakes up in the containment cell, and Jemma tells her that they gave her something to help her sleep, and she explains that there were more than 75 hairline fractures in Daisy's arm. And Andrew explains that she was directing her power inward, and Jemma assures her that she's made a cast to minimize the damage. And Melinda assures Daisy that they'll figure it out, and they'll figure out what she's going through. But remember, they don't know half of what's actually going on. They don't realize that she's an Inhuman. They don't realize a lot of things. So later, Jemma tells Coulson that they're dealing with two types of gifted. Some of the gifted, and this is true. This is what's going on here. Basically, this really sums up what's going on and what the rest of the season is going to show. Some of the gifted have man-made powers, people like Raina and Daisy, but people like Raina and Daisy are manifesting inherent abilities. So, they, of course, are just now getting these abilities, and Coulson tells her to make it a priority to find a way to negate their powers because he doesn't want them to have these powers. The thing is, though, this isn't Coulson's decision. They should be able to, pick if they want these powers or not. So this really makes me think that if Coulson tells them to get rid of these powers, they're going to leave. I know they're going to leave because it seems like, especially Raina. Raina seems like she really does want these powers, even though she's horrified by them. Daisy just doesn't really know what's going on. I definitely feel like Daisy just really wants to be a part of this. And as Jemma goes, Coulson tells her not to bring anyone else in. And as Andrew leaves, he tells Melinda that he's recommending that Daisy leave S.H.I.E.L.D. entirely, which honestly I think would be, as I said, would be probably the best thing for her. But if she leaves S.H.I.E.L.D., Cal is definitely going to ask her to join that group. And I don't know if Daisy will go dark, but if she goes dark, that could be really interesting to see. I've always kind of thought that possibility that maybe Daisy would go dark, and maybe she would turn against S.H.I.E.L.D. and work with all of them. And I think that would be a very interesting concept if that did happen. Especially knowing her powers, knowing how powerful she is. If she went, dark and everything, I think that could be very interesting. So then we see that basically there was a reason he moved on, and he asked Andrew to consider consulting for them, and he refuses, saying that S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't changed, and, Melinda told him that S.H.I.E.L.D. had changed, but really it hasn't, and the only thing that's changed is that it's gotten a little bit worse, because now there are all these powerful Inhumans working in S.H.I.E.L.D., and there's a reason he moved on. The woman whose photo he removed from his desk is another reason now. And Mack comes in, puts a hood on Lance, and says that his ride is there. And later, the soldiers with Mack remove the hood. Mack tells Lance that he and Bobbi work for an organization that came out of the wreckage that Fury left. Lance wonders what he means, and Mack says they work for the real S.H.I.E.L.D. What? What? What does that mean? So you're telling me that the S.H.I.E.L.D. that we've been seeing is not the real S.H.I.E.L.D.? There's another S.H.I.E.L.D.? Okay, now I have a lot more possibilities now. I feel that the people that are these Inhumans are going to end up working for that S.H.I.E.L.D. because that S.H.I.E.L.D. is much more powerful, and who even knows what's going on there? We knew that they were hiding something, now we know what it is, and now that we know this, I think it's an amazing possibility of what could happen here. There's two S.H.I.E.L.D.s now, and that's really interesting. You have Coulson's team, and you have the actual S.H.I.E.L.D. So, how does this S.H.I.E.L.D. exist? I mean, I thought S.H.I.E.L.D. completely collapsed, but has this S.H.I.E.L.D. been here all along? That's really what I want to know. I'm very confused with what's going on there, and I don't really know what to explain there. However, that's not the end of the episode, because then we get to the post-credit scene. And Cal's sitting in a room surrounded by the furniture that he's torn up, and Gordon comes in, and Cal demands to know why he didn't teleport Skye away as well. And the blind man says that Cal is making too much noise, and he's not one of them, and Cal wonders what is going to happen to him, and Gordon says that it isn't up to him to decide. Nods to the door, Cal composes himself, and walks out. So, my prediction here is that Cal is going to somehow maybe join the other S.H.I.E.L.D. and get the team with Skye, because clearly with Daisy, because clearly the other people in that team don't really want him there, because they just don't think that he is as powerful as them, which he's not. First of all, Cal's not an Inhuman, he doesn't have any powers, and all these other people, they are Inhumans, they have powers, they're very powerful, and Cal doesn't have that. So I can understand why they don't want Cal to be part of the team. I can totally understand that. But overall, guys, this was an amazing episode. By far, one of the best episodes of the season. Absolutely loved it. And there's a lot to talk about. So, is Daisy going to join this other S.H.I.E.L.D? I feel like Mack and Bobbi are going to lead her to that possibility. They're going to tell her what's going on. And pretty soon, I wouldn't be surprised if all the people that are in S.H.I.E.L.D. right now are going to leave. I really would not be surprised if that happens. I mean, and if that's true, that could be very interesting. And the other question is the S.H.I.E.L.D. good? Are Mack and Bobbi, should we trust them now? What kind of S.H.I.E.L.D. are they leading? What kind of organization are they leading? Is this against S.H.I.E.L.D.? Is this against Coulson's team? Like, what exactly are they making? What exactly are they hiding? And why aren't they telling anyone about this? I mean, Lance clearly knows now, so is he going to tell Daisy? Is he going to tell the others about this? I expect him to at least tell Daisy. I mean, Daisy is a person that would be most interested in knowing that there's a way out of S.H.I.E.L.D. because they're not being very nice to her or anything. They're not letting her handle her powers, which, again, she has no idea what she's doing with these powers. So if she found out there's another S.H.I.E.L.D., she would probably go to it. I really wouldn't be surprised if she ends up going to that S.H.I.E.L.D. My other question, of course, is Andrew. Is Andrew going to go to the other S.H.I.E.L.D.? Because, of course, Andrew wants a changed S.H.I.E.L.D., and we don't know much about this S.H.I.E.L.D., but I feel like this S.H.I.E.L.D. is a lot more organized, a lot more powerful, a lot what the old S.H.I.E.L.D. used to be. I definitely feel like that's a possibility as well. I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there. And as far as Coulson goes, Coulson and Cal, I love their little conflict. Is Coulson going to end up killing Cal? What's going to happen to Cal? I don't know what's going to happen, but I'm very interested in figuring out what's going to happen there. And I guess the only other thing I'm going to ask about is Jemma and Fitz. Is their relationship completely ruined? I'm going to say right now it is. I mean, Jemma pretty much summed it up when she said she wants nothing to do with him. So, overall, guys, this was probably the second best episode of the season. Really enjoyed this episode. I'll see you guys in my next video. Let me know if you guys saw this episode. I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Arrow. So, I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.